Hi everyone, it's Kristen Redmond, and today we're going to go over those planetary aspects that are surrounding us and affecting us for this week, October 17th through the 23rd. And this week, we have a lot of energy and focus that's going to start going into the sign of Scorpio, especially because Sun is going to be transiting into Scorpio on Friday the 22nd. And Scorpio is quite an interesting little sign in itself, and it's so vital to all of us because it represents the endings that lead to new beginnings and ultimately the transformation that brings change that we seek. And though difficult and painful, it's vital for anything, any kind of progression in life, right? And only thing that's certain in this life, right, is death and taxes and change. And that's what Scorpio rules, is death and taxes and change. And the 8th house that it rules in astrology, and Pluto that is its ruling planet, all of those things carry the same energy of Scorpio. And it is death, tax, transformation, loss, change, all of these things. And when the sun starts shining its rays in there, as it's going to start doing on Friday, we start to look to the past, the losses that we've endured in our life, whether it's loved ones or relationships, jobs, opportunities, whatever it is, things that we've lost in this life that hurt us on a deep, deep psychological level, and the ones that we tend to repress and bury deep way back there in that dark subconscious of ours. Scorpio likes to bring those things out, okay? Scorpio doesn't want these things to be hidden, though it's a very hidden sign, and so is that 8th house. Things are hidden, but it's because they're so difficult to talk about and usually hard for people to discuss, and so they do get repressed and they do get buried. But when the sun comes through Scorpio, it starts shining a light on it and bringing these things out in the open, things that were once hidden. So you'll find yourself wanting to talk about these losses that you've had. This is the time when you'll start processing them better, being able to let these things go because you're able to talk about them easier. It's no coincidence that Halloween lands in the sign of Scorpio, okay? Because it's like the universally cool time to like get into death and talk about it like it's just cool, and to dress up like a skeleton and scare people. And there's a reason for it, because there is a time and a season for that in all of our lives, to really say death is cool. You know why? And not just cool is a bad word, maybe I shouldn't say that, but ultimately it is, because you know what it is? It creates hardship and crisis in our life. And anytime we have those in our lives, it creates an opportunity for growth so that we can expand and go beyond where we've been limited to. And though it may be hard, letting these things go may be very difficult. Ultimately, in the end, they bring something better, because that's what God intends as part of our plan. And so you'll see, starting Friday, the sun going through there, it's really going to start shining a light on that. A lot of focus is going to be on that. Scorpio rules the deeper recesses of the mind, the subconscious mind, psychology and metaphysics, things like that. So you'll also find that you're very interested in looking into the metaphysical world. Maybe you're a little more inquisitive about finding out about your astrology chart, or going to see a medium, something along those lines. And it's good, because you know who's nudging you to do that is Jeremiel, Archangel Jeremiel. He is the one, the angel for Scorpio energy. He's the angel that technically is the one that they consider the one that helps cross spirits over onto the other side. He's the one that helps you. He doesn't just, he's not the one that literally crosses you over, but he's the one that gives the life review. When people say, oh, life flashed before my eyes and I saw this, in the near-death experiences, he's the angel that does that provides you that opportunity to look at your life from a higher standpoint and a different view. But you don't have to be on death's door to have him help you. All you have to do is ask him now. If you feel you're going through a hard time through all of these 8th house Scorpio issues as the sun goes through over the next 4 weeks, ask for Archangel Michael, or Jeremiel. I'm sorry, Michael's good too, he protects you, but Jeremiel is the one that's going to help you review what your life has been up until now. See where maybe you've made errors. See where other people maybe have deceived you, because that's also what Scorpio represents too. And he helps you to review that past and to cross over into the bridge of change and transformation into this life. He helps us to release the grudges and the toxic energy that we have from hurts that have occurred because of these losses. He helps us to let that go. And he's also the angel that helps us understand spiritual visions, okay? And the visions that we have in our mind, those reoccurring memories that we have of those losses and pains and memories. He is the one that helps us understand those, okay? He comes in the form of an amethyst. He is dark purple. His halo is that color. So if you want to invoke his energy to help you work through these things, imagine yourself in that beautiful amethyst purple light. Get yourself an amethyst. Right here I have one that's more in a crystal form. Yeah, like that's going to get focused in. I don't have a camera crew to focus in on this, but there's beautiful raw ones like this. There's other kinds too. There's various forms of amethyst. Carry that with you, and you'll carry the energy of Archangel Jeremiel with you as he helps you to kind of let go of those things and find the growth and the opportunities that you really look for. Now, as the sun goes through Scorpio, it's not all about these wonderful transformations. It's also a time to focus on the shadow side of that 8th house. And that tends to be a little bit more of the Pluto type energies of obsession, compulsion, jealousy, the dark side of the personalities. Those types of things will come out a little bit more so as we go through the sign of Scorpio. Now, Venus, the planet of love and money, has just gone through Scorpio. So there's been a lot of focus, okay, on the intensity of our relationships, of our love lives, of our money and our finances and the joint finances that we have with ourselves, with our spouse, that type of thing. A lot of focus on that over the past 3 weeks. Now, Venus is going to be transiting out of Scorpio, moving into the sign of Sagittarius on Tuesday, tomorrow on the 18th. And what's great about that is that it moves out of this really intense sign. So you may have found over the past 3 weeks it's been extremely, incredibly intense. Whether that's power struggle-wise, because that's Pluto-like, that's the shadow side of Scorpio. You may have found yourself in a lot of arguments in your relationships and finding those power struggles a little bit more. So we go from that intensity that does bring change, okay? Good thing is it's a catalyst for change, even though it's difficult. Now it goes into Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is such an optimistic and happy sign. And the planet of love and money loves to be optimistic, right? And it's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So Venus gets to expand its horizons. It expands its capacity to love and to bring blessings of abundance for all of us. So that's a wonderful thing that we all will be looking at in the next 3 weeks as Venus transits through there, to be a lot more optimistic in those areas. It's a good time to take any kind of trip, too, because Sagittarius is all about travel and exploring beyond our boundaries and our horizons. And you may find that in your love life, that you're ready to explore a little bit beyond where you feel like you've been limited. And it's a great time to take a romantic trip. If that's what you're in the mood for, hey, go for it, because the universe is behind you to give you that opportunity to really have fun with each other too, because Sagittarius is all about fun. It really is. Now, another thing too with this, because we have the money side of Venus as well going into Sagittarius, it's a good time to start learning. Okay, Sagittarius and the 9th house that it rules is all about higher learning and just reading as much as you can about a topic. And if you do that in the next 3 weeks, it's going to be very good and pay off very well for you, okay, down the pipe, because what you learn now becomes invaluable, okay, and then it leads to new opportunities that come in the future, okay. So make sure you get a book on astrology and start reading up on it, or whatever it is that you're led to do, because the angels are going to lead you to where you need to go, especially this dude here, Jeremiel, right, that helps you on your path. So we've got that going on. Another thing that's going to be happening this week too is Mars and Pluto are going to align. They're going to be conjunct. They're going to be like that. And this happens once a year, okay? And Mars is the planet of ambition and drive and energy. And Pluto is the sign of transformation, or the planet of transformation. It's the one that rules Scorpio, everything we just talked about, right? It's about a lot of intensity and getting things restructured and done, okay? So you're going to find in this week that there is a lot of intense passion that's going to be going on, because Mars is also the planet of passion too. So you may find that there are some arguments and power struggles that come up this week, especially because we are still in the sign of Libra up until Friday, so you may find there's still some of those relationship tensions and issues coming up. But for the most part with this alignment, it takes on more of a positive attitude, and it is about ambition and energy and really having that drive to get things done. So I think there's going to be a lot of hard work and a lot of determination this week that lead to some significant gains for sure. So be sure to get that hard work going this week. because it ultimately brings to transformation, right? That's the goal here in Scorpio. So usually I pull a stone, right, for the week, see what Archangel's with us. Jeremiel was so strong about me talking about him today. So I know he's around. And I have no stone to pull because he is here. So amethyst is a wonderful stone for combining the elements of knowing and doing and putting them together and making this wonderful action, but it's action that required a lot of thought ahead of time, okay? I always say with these stones, right, it's a combination of blue and red. Blue is that intuitive knowing. It's that divine feminine energy of just intuitively knowing what you need to do, being in touch with the universe and with God and hearing the messages you have. And then red, you mix that with red, and that's the divine masculine of doing, of action. You take those thoughts and you put them into action to make those changes in your life. Okay, Jeremiel brings that on. So this week, let's see what he has to say. I'm going to shuffle this 8 times in lieu of the 8th house in Scorpio and the energy that it brings. Though difficult and painful, ultimately brings us wonderful things, right? So, whoops. You may also find as the sun transits through the sign of Scorpio that some hidden things come to light because it really is the house of hidden things. So you may find that there are some deceptive things that are going on in that time frame. Things you may not have understood that you'll start to understand clearer. So that 8th house, that Scorpio, man, it brings you some interesting things, but ultimately it's wonderful things. Whoa. All right, we got 2 more. And we will see what kind of energy they have for us for this week. All right. So we have Archangel Sandalphon, actually, and the Unity card. This is an interesting card, okay, because Sandalphon is the archangel that brings us guidance through songs, okay? So you're like, oh my gosh, I keep hearing this song over and over, or I hear this song and it makes me think of my loved one that passed away. I have a feeling with just Sandalphon coming through this week that there's going to be a lot of that energy going on. A lot of loved ones are going to be able to communicate through song to us. He's also the angel that hears our prayers, and they say he literally goes from the length of earth up to heaven. He's very, very tall, this gigantic angel, and he takes our prayers and he takes them up to heaven, and then he brings those blessings down to us, especially since we're still in that full moon cycle, which represents blessings that come forth. So he's the angel. This card in particular, though, 5 represents change, and obviously we talked about that considerably today. He's the angel that brings through change. This card in particular asks us as in some decks, you know, it's the tarot deck that represents the Hierophant is what they call it, or a high religious figure. It represents our spiritual values and how we tend to look at our traditional views of things. So this is one of those things that asks us to look at the network that surrounds us. Okay, I see this more on an angelic realm. Maybe for some people you're seeing this week, especially with power struggles. This is like a card of organizations and things, so I could see maybe some people having some really difficult times at work this week within their internal structure and organizations, a little bit of shakeups that happen, especially with Uranus and that full moon energy coming through, maybe some unexpected things coming through. That was really strong. Wow. Okay. Well, that's what it is. I'm not really pulling the rest of this stuff about like seeking out mentors and, you know, getting yourself aligned with religious mentors and things like that. I don't really feel that energy this week with this card. I see more of it as the 5 change, and I do see some weird business stuff for somebody out there. For the rest of us, though, Archangel Sandalphon. Listen to the music, Doobie Brothers out there. See what's happening this week. Somebody's going to bring you a message in that. Okay. And then let's pull a chakra card with it, though. And this one I'm going to do 6 times to kind of get a little bit more that goes with that, because we're talking about knowing what we need to do before we make the steps necessary to act on it. We've got to have a lot of thought before we act on things. And that 5 card also indicates that changes are coming. So 2 more times. I know that's more than what I initially said, but I feel like that's what they want, so that's what I'm going to do. All right. Wisdom, and with that comes wisdom. I think maybe not just like I said before about this with the maybe it isn't about the spiritual minded mentors and stuff. You know what I think it is? This wisdom card here, sorry, my Kindle puked out on me. It represents the universal collective of angels and guides that we have around us that bring us the information that we need when we need it and the wisdom that we need when we need it to bring the change that we need. I really feel that as a sign, all of this week. So much of this green energy that's around healing that heart center, which really allows us to receive, to love, to give and receive fully, right? Equal balance. And we really still need to focus on that this last week of Libra, which is all about focusing the scales in those relationships, the balance and the give and take in life in what we do. So let's continue focusing on that. Before we start going into that week of focusing on the losses we've had and the transformation it brings and the change ultimately that it brings to lead us on our path. So everybody have a wonderful week.